A1 were a fantastic band. Enjoy this. You can't see, but I'm waving my hands and I've lit a lighter, which is not actually allowed. That is fantastic. That's A1. Of course, they were a very successful band from 1998 to 2002, and they got back together again in 2009. And I'm delighted to say that certainly the member of the band that I remember most vividly joins me now, and it's Mark Reed, whose brand new solo single is out. Because honestly, there's a lot of boy bands, Mark, and I jumped on the internet, and A1 was on my radar, and I looked up you. It's like, yes, I know this man. I have seen him on Top of the Pops. And you can be very flattered because I only really know about Elton John.
Good evening, Mark. It's really good to talk. I'm really enjoying the show.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
I turned my radio off because I obviously didn't want it to feedback. And then when I called in and I was put on hold, the first thing I heard was, he's got a big one. And I thought to myself, what am I walking into?
You knew we were talking about you. Show. You knew. Your ears were burning, Mark. Well, listen, your new single is out now. Where Were You? Let's talk about that for a moment. So are you a solo artist at this point? Where are you at in terms of your relationship with A1?
Oh, we're still very much together. Cool. Actually, we have been pretty much. That's the thing. I mean, we've been touring all over the world, been touring in Asia and a lot around Scandinavia. So because we're not necessarily on TV all the time in the UK, sometimes people think we're still not together, but we actually very much are. And we're still really good friends, which is great. But we all have our own kind of individual projects as well. I mean, one of the guys in the band, Christian, he's from Norway, so he obviously lives over there most of the time, doing various things. And Ben's very busy with his projects as well. Paul in the band, he's got kids, and obviously that keeps him very busy. But I'm a massive Elton John fan as well, by the way, Mark. He was my biggest inspiration and my hero growing up.
Well, of course, so because you were a bit of a piano prodigy yourself, were you not?
Yeah, I started playing at about 2.
Wow.
As soon as I could crawl onto the stool. Got a very musical family. My nan, one of the Tiller girls. If you remember the Tiller
Yes, of course. They were the great entertainment artists of their time. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I got the bug from a very early age. My mum's a drummer. My dad's a guitarist and singer in a rock and roll band. So, yeah, started at a very young age. And, yes, A1 came around when I was 19, and we were doing that. Been doing that ever since, really.
Well, yeah. Well, look, all the best music artists think that their latest work is their best work. So tell us, before we dig into the past, tell us about Where Were You, the single, the experience of making it, what the song is. Just tell us about your latest project.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was very, very spontaneous, actually, because I was working on some things for A1, because we've been working on a new album. And we were actually on tour when all of this came about, actually. The tour had to be cancelled. The tour was called the Boys Are Back tour. I mean, obviously, this has affected absolutely everybody. And most musicians I know have had all of their gigs for the rest of the year cancelled, unfortunately. But, so, obviously, find ourselves in lockdown. And about 3 weeks into it, an old school friend got in touch with me and said, how you doing? Just touching base. And we don't see each other too often, but he'd actually written some lyrics. And he's a graphic designer by trade. He's the last person I ever would have imagined to have written lyrics. And he said, I've no idea what to do with these. Do you want to have a look at them, see if you can come up with anything? And it was one of those things. I said, yeah, I'll get round to that. I'll put an hour aside. And one day I did, and they were fantastic. They were so true and from the heart and kind of what we're all experiencing at the moment. It's specifically a kind of like a lockdown song and you know, about the whole pandemic. And it's the quickest I've ever written a song. I've got to be honest. I sat down at the piano and 5-10 minutes later, the whole song was written. So
well, it's a lovely lyric.
That's how it came about.
It's a lyric that even Bernie Taupin would be envious of. Where were you when the world stopped? Amazing. Right. Co-written, produced at home. I think there's going to be a lot of great art that comes out of this awful pandemic, because so many talented people like you are stuck at home, but because you're creative, you still want to produce. So this is going to, this is obviously, when's it out?
It's out now. It's out last Friday, and it's been really well received so far. People are really, the lyrics are really resonating with people, and I'm just really happy for my friend, because I called him up after it had its first play on the radio last week, and I said, "How does that feel hearing a song you've written?" And he said, "I can't really explain it. It's just, it's a very strange feeling because again, for him, it's the last thing he ever imagined himself doing. And it's really well received, and I think it's connecting to a lot of people, which is, amazing.
I think it's amazing. I'm going to make our audience wait, because we have a big chunk of the song. We're going to play out the hour with Where Were You When the World Stopped. But I will say that you can listen and buy on all digital music platforms. You can stream it, you can buy a copy, and do check it out. Now, this is where you're at, and you're obviously always thinking about the next project. At the age of 19, you got your big break into this band. So how exactly? Because I understand you were spotted at a gig somewhere in London.
That's right. Absolutely. Wow, Wikipedia does have some facts on it. That's brilliant.
But apparently you also have 27 children, so I don't know how much of that is true.
Yeah, no, it's not all accurate. Our manager was a gentleman by the name of Tim Byrne, who's actually put together Steps. And he was looking to put together, a boy band in the vein of Take That, a band where they all wrote and they could all, play instruments and things like that. And he was scouting in various venues, places where there were bands playing. And I was actually at this venue in London at the Rock Garden, I think it was, in Covent Garden.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's still there. I think it is. And I was watching another band, but I was really into it. I was very close to the band on stage, and he saw me kind of singing along, and he said, "Oh, are you related to the band, or are you interested in music?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And it was something like out of a film. He gave me his card and said, "Come into the office, have a chat with me, and let's see if we can do something." And I was actually in a band with Ben, who's in the band with me at the time, and I brought him along as well. And Christian was over studying at the Paul McCartney Fame School, LIPA, in Liverpool.
Wow.
And Paul he'd come over from Spain. He's from the UK, but he'd been living in Spain for a while. So he came over to audition as well. And the band was formed. It was a bit more of the focus was more on the sort of the writing pedigree and the more sort of like the musician side of it. And so we were actually given the opportunity to write the songs from the first single, which is brilliant, because a lot of the bands from that time, certainly like the boy bands, the pop bands, they didn't really get to write their own songs, but they trusted us to write the songs.
Does it frustrate you that the boy bands and perhaps, A1 might have been unfairly judged and lumped in with those other bands that were very much a sort of by numbers affair, put together by a Svengali, some of the members of whom have never seen a musical instrument in their life and cannot carry a correct sort of note of music? Did it bother you? Did you feel there was snobbery in your direction ever?
Yeah, there was a lot of stigma surrounding boy bands and stuff, and you're absolutely right. We did get lumped into that with all of the other bands, but then that was because it was successful, because Take That was so successful, and obviously before them, New Kids on the Block, and then after them, Boyzone, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, because there were so many.
One Direction.
Of course, many years later, One Direction kind of brought it back again. They made it cool, well, as well as JLS as well, and I think what it was is we came out at a time where it was kind of just coming to the end of that wave of boy bands, and I think boy band fatigue was kind of setting in. So we were very fortunate to have the success that we did, and I think the way we were able to kind of break through was because we did write the songs. And whereas a lot of other bands, if they didn't have such success, we'd say one of their songs didn't go into the top 10, they then wouldn't get such the best songs. Some of the top writers. Yeah. Such as Steve Mack and a lot of writers that would submit songs, they'd hold back their better songs for the next big band. But because we were writing, we'd kind of like keep writing until we had a song. And the song that you played at the beginning, Caught in the Middle, was one of our biggest sort of breakthrough songs that kind of actually got us a lot of attention on the radio and even in America. So by writing these songs and just sticking with it and being persistent, we were able to break through.
Well, definitely massive success. 2 UK #1 singles, 8 top 10 hits, 3 studio albums, Brit Award, real tangible success. Only a minute or two before we play your record. We must not eat into the single, but money. Did you make big money? I mean, you don't have to give me the numbers, but was it a kind of life-changing level of success that you could pretty much lie on a beach for the rest of time?
If we hadn't written the songs, I would say no, but the fact that we did write the songs, it did make a tremendous difference, and it's something that still really helps even today, because some of the hits that we released were massive anthems over in Asia, like the Philippines and Singapore and Thailand and Malaysia. So those songs are still played all of the time, and those kind of royalties they take their time, but they do come back to you. And it's a very different industry now, so it's all about streaming, obviously. People don't even buy records anymore, It's just streaming. So, but yeah, it comes through, so it's not bad.
And with 1 minute to go, the groupies. Did you listen, you're a fan of Elton, you know how honest Elton is. His book, his biography is eye-wateringly honest. So did you have your fun and, without obviously within the boundaries of UK law? Was that one of the perks?
I can actually say that at the time, this is a very boring answer, I was actually in a relationship, so there wasn't any fun going on for me. Yeah,
Marky, that was a schoolboy error. What were you thinking? That's like going off to college in a relationship. I know a friend of mine went to college and his girlfriend was in another city. Are you mad?
I know, but a couple of the guys in the band weren't, so I lived vicariously through them.
Right. And then what about, did you have your booze and drugs hell or not? Or what happened with that? Did you ever succumb?
We were very fortunate to avoid that. There was a lot of that going around, but I think there were other things that hit us, obviously like depression, all the ups and downs and things that we went through. But we were very lucky that drink and drugs were not a factor for us.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. A very wise head on young shoulders. Well, I'm delighted that you're still together as A1 and maybe achieve that third number one at some point. I'm delighted to say that Sarah has now just whacked on your latest tune. And it's called Where Were You? And listen to that. Listen to those dulcet tones. That was Mark Reed. Mark, good luck with the single. And say hi to the boys from A1. You're listening to Talk Radio. We'll play out with Mark's new single.
Right when the air cleared and the blues were sky high, where were you when the world stopped?